Notion is constantly updating, and that means there's far too many things to actually keep up with unless you're sad like me who reads all the emails and tries all the new stuff. Today, I'm going to share with you some of the best features that I use with active clients that you may have not really heard about or not really know about as much that actually benefit me when I'm creating these systems. If you're always looking to scale your business through systems, I've got a full newsletter that you can read to actually help you do that in multitudes of areas. So the first link was in the description. You can join it there. Just ignore all the stuff in the background. I'm currently in the process of purchasing this place, so I've got kind of boxes everywhere at the moment. But what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at some of the things that are genuinely beneficial when you're using it. And the first one is customized layout. So if you come into any template that you're now creating, this is just my Notion training facility that you can see, you have the ability to customize the layout of your page. So in the past, what you would actually have is you would just have your contents page here where you could have linked views of databases. You could share sort of what those databases are and what you're wanting to do. You can kind of have anything you want inside of this content page. Problem is, if you're wanting to show databases and you're wanting to have information in here that's separate, it can be a little bit hard to do. So the customized layout feature actually gives you a fair whack of really cool features that you can use that people don't tend to use as much as I actually think you should be using them. Now, inside of here, I organize every single person's database that I work with this customized layout. So I'm going to run through one by one all the little areas that you can do and maybe some of the things that you've missed that you can actually try from this. So the first one is inside of the top. If you click this heading page, you can actually select pinned properties. So you can change the property labels if you don't want to have them there. You can also show backlinks if you have some of them on this space. You can show on the hover or always show if you've got some backlinks that are actually in this space. Now you can choose 4 pinned properties, and I actually really like this. It means that whenever you click onto a page for the first time, you're going to just see them in that stage right at the top. Really, really good, really powerful to actually have. If you come down below to the page discussions area, this is your ability to have the comment side of things. So if you want comments to be in here, you can have them hidden or you can actually have them inside of that area. With the inline comments, you can actually change them to minimal as well so that it's not showing up inside of the database itself as easy to see. And the minimal just hides it a little bit more. You can hide this, you can move it down, you can put it wherever you want. If you like your comments at the bottom and your content up the top, then you can do that. Inside of the content, you've not really got any opportunity to change that because this is where you would do all your regular things in the past, but it does give you the ability to actually see what is going on with this. Now on the right hand side, what we've got is the property group. Now in here is all the rest of your database items that you sort of have, all your properties that you've got in here. You can add new properties directly from this space if you're wanting to, and the name and all that sort of stuff if you're wanting to do that. But what you can also do, and what I don't see a lot of people doing, is you can actually add sections into here. So you'll see right here, we've got a new section, and I can add this to the new section, and you can actually name that section as well with what you're wanting to do. So you can delete any properties in that, all that sort of stuff. But this can separate your database properties. If you have a lot of database properties, this is a great thing to do because you can separate them and make it easier for you to actually see. So for this one, as an example, I have the messages for clients, I have the retention, and then I have related databases that are from here that you can actually see from this point of view, which I really, really like. Again, just like usual, if you're in the databases, you can select what would actually happen as the template is created for what is going on. So I really like this. This is something I don't see a lot. What you can also do with this is you can actually move it to your page. So if you come back out to what we were doing before, you'll see right now, all those headings that we were looking at before, they aren't actually visible. They aren't there. Now, currently where they hide is in the details section on the right-hand side. So if you open this up, you can then see messages, retention, relation. You can hide all of those as well to actually see. However, if you want these in the main section here, what you can do is you can click these 3 buttons and you can move it to the page. So now you actually have these appearing directly in this space. And if you wanted to add only one in particular, so let's just say for an example, I wanted the message today to just be on its own, I can actually search that for the message today and I can apply that to all of the pages, meaning this is how it looks now, where I've got the messages and here, the retention and the relations, and there's no view details in that right hand side. It's all inside the page itself. So you can do that for that instance. Now, the final one that I'm going to run you through is actually the tabbed view, which you can see here. And this has definitely been probably the best improvement when it comes to the database properties and showing the relational databases that you've got in here. No longer inside of the content page itself do you actually need to include any linked views of databases. You can simply click on anywhere kind of like in the free pages, and you'll have two structures for what's going on. You've got a simple structure, which doesn't include any of these, and a tabbed structure, which means that you can add any linked view of a database that is related to this current database that you've got. Meaning if I have a client's database and I have the tasks related to that database, I can show in the tab view the tasks database for that particular client. What I would also recommend is having the full width just checked on. Means that every time you create a new page inside of your Notion templates, there's a full width that's actually created with that. You'll see here, we can link all of the related to clients directly inside of this page, and we can then customize it in any way that we want. So another cool thing that it does inside of the tab database is any related tabbed item that you've got in here automatically has the filter that the client is this page. So automatically has that the database item that it's related to is the page that you're in, meaning any client call that I add in this page is directly related to this client I've created for this particular one. The other like little addition that I'm going to say to you here when you're just doing this is just a little bit more of the database side of things. But when you're going through these, because you've only got a view, so if I come back out of this and you see that you've got the views here of kind of what's going on, you don't have the same length of views you would for like a full page of a linked view of a database. So my recommendation with these is always when you're doing them, within the table, wrap all of the columns, and that will allow it to show everything you're kind of needing to see without having to scroll along and do all of that. That can be a little bit of a pain when you are working with databases and you're having to scroll along all the time. So definitely go into these layouts that you've got and only choose the ones that you really need to see for those. You'll see that I hide created time and clients in here because there's no real need to see the client because it's on the client's page. So it's definitely important to go through these and make sure that they're good. But what this essentially means is if you're opening up your client's page, you will now be able to see you've got the content here where you can write all the stuff, you've got the messages, the retention and the relations, but I can also see any client call that I've had with that person, any projects that are related to that person, any tasks that I'm doing, any completed tasks, any testimonials that they have given as that individual. That allows me to see it there without having to go anywhere because I've linked them all. So if they do give me a testimonial, you'll see I've got a new testimonial, and if I open up this page, it's already directly linked to this client, because if I change this to Andrew Ellis, then you'll see that updates as well. And it's such a good way of actually having all of these working for you, and it's genuinely been a really, really big game changer when it comes to the database items and the customized layout of what you're wanting. The second one I'm going to show you is the mobile view friendly. Now, Notion natively doesn't have a great mobile view, but you can create pages that do have a good mobile view and can actually show you in a good way when you're on your mobile if you're wanting to use it. Now, I don't actually use Notion on my mobile that much, and that's just purely because I'm on my computer a lot of the time. I got my 3 monitors here. I don't really need to use it on my phone. And if I do, I've created shortcuts on my phone that just allows me to add it in really quickly. If you're someone that's out a lot and you're on the road and you have to use Notion on your phone and you don't have the ability to be at your PC or a laptop, then you can actually create pages that fit the Notion view in the way that you'd want to. So on the screen, I'll show you what this page looks like on Notion on your phone. And it looks so much better than what you were doing, because I'll also show you on the mobile, just as you're seeing it on the screen, what it looks like if you've just got a normal page that you would see. So if you're on something like your actual Notion training here, if I were to show this on the mobile, you'll see how terrible it looks. It's just not easy to navigate and it's really hard to do. So what you want to do if you're wanting to set up a mobile view that actually works, you want to first not have it in full width mode. So keep it in the normal mode. You can add small text if you want to, but honestly, I don't think it does too much. And then what you want to do from here is you want to add your buttons at the top of the things that you want to be doing. So for me, these are just ones that would add a task as a priority of next 3 or new task. And then what I've got here is just a view inside of a list, and then it's grouped by the completed by, and it makes it really, really simple to actually see like what's going on, what do I need, and what do I actually want to have. So if you're using Notion on your mobile, this is probably the route that you want to follow. You want to go down the list route, you want to go in the grouped by, and then obviously just keep the property visibility as simple as possible and as easy as possible. I wouldn't recommend using Notion just constantly on your phone. I'm not a big fan of using anything really that I have to do complicated on my phone. I am far better and far quicker at doing it on my PC. So I actually don't lean towards it. But if you're someone that needs to do it, then this is definitely the route to go with it. Now, the next one is something that I have been using a lot more recently. And I'll tell you a story as to why it's been so beneficial. Now, over the last few months, I've been really pushing forward with AI and automation and improving my skills and being able to do it. Now, one of those parts of it, I suppose, is code as a really, really simple code. And in Notion, there is the ability to do a little bit in there and actually try things and see things and how they're actually going. Now, I'd never done code in my life. I'd never tried code in my life. And if you've ever used Notion formulas, you'll know it's not actually anything that's that complicated. You have the ability to do a good few of these things. And here, there are more complicated things. And I was always really jealous of people who could do the code in the ways that I couldn't. And I'm going to move this to the left so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I was always really jealous of people who could do this code in the blink of an eye and what's going on. Now with the Notion formulas, you actually have the ability to fix or explain a formula that you're wanting to see inside of Notion, and it does it pretty well. I had a client that I was working with and I spent probably about 6 or 7 hours going through this complicated code, for me anyway, and really trying to work it out. Now the code was a lot longer than I'd hoped it'd be. It took me ages to actually figure out. There were so many back and forths that I didn't know fully what I was doing. But with the introduction of the AI formula, explaining it, I was able to replicate that in about 10 minutes. Now, don't get me wrong, I know I went back and forth for so long, I would have had the best ability to explain what I was trying to do and all the problems that I ran into, but I've now used Notion AI formulas for a lot of my client work, and it has sped up significantly what I've been able to do. And that's purely because not only is it using what Notion actually knows with its formulas, but it's teaching me what I need to do when I'm doing formulas as well. So not only has it allowed me to progress my skill in using the code inside of here, it's allowed me to improve the speed and efficiency in which I can do that. If you're wanting to do these things, I'd highly, highly recommend using the AI formula side and actually trying it. Now, I think with the plans, you need to have the business plan if you're wanting to do it consistently. The benefits of using the AI side of things and paying that extra bit of money has been totally worth it for anyone that I've recommended it to. What I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to genuinely come up with something that I've thought off the top of my head, and I'm going to put it that whatever stage color it's on, to put that color as a button inside of here. So what I've done is I've literally just asked it there, if it matches each stage and the stage is equals that, it's then just going to give me a color for what's going on. Now, it's not matched exactly what I'd wanted, with stage 1 being obviously the purple one. I don't even know if there's a purple circle, but the fact that that was able to do that just so quickly is mental. That, I promise you, took about 5 seconds for that to do. Now, I can do that and I know how to do that, but the speed in which that done that, not a chance on earth I'm filling all that in that amount of time. This can get so much more complicated. I've done ridiculously complicated formulas inside of the Notion AI formula, just purely from me talking and yapping to it and figuring out what I need to do to change it and to fit the way that I want to. Really is as simple as, let's just go change these all to bold. And again, it's just reasoning. Now, this wouldn't take me long to do, I get that, but this is going to be even quicker for me to do. I don't need to do any of it, and that's me done. That's it sorted. Now they're on bold. And it's so, so good. And it's something that I don't see enough people using at the moment, and I don't see enough people talking about. So just give it a go. Try it with your formulas that you're trying to figure out in your head of like how I would do all this. You can do really cool things with mapping related databases. So essentially, if you've got related databases, you can map the database that's related and then take things from there. So one of the ones that I've done is like a habit tracker, where if you've checked it off inside of the stats database, as you're relating all those ones that you've checked off, it can check how many of the related have been checked off. Then what can we do with the percentages that have been checked off? It's really cool. It's awesome. It's something that you really need to try. The next one can kind of add on to the formulas, but it's also a cool way of just improving your automations as a whole. Now, inside of the automations, you can obviously trigger things that, let's just go for the ability that when the type of training is matched to the active training, we'll do that as an example. You can then add particular pages to certain areas. So let's just say, as an example, you wanted to add something to the tasks. Now, when you're doing these automations, the really cool thing that you can have is you can use the triggered page to benefit what's going to be shown in this automation. And what I mean by that is, let's say that this tasks page is actually an approvals page and we're looking for approval for what's going on. What we can do is we can use the at function to look for the triggered page of that property, and we can have maybe something, the name of the training. And then in here, we can put dash, and it could be needs approved for training purposes. I'm going to spell approved right. What I really like about this is it gives you the ability to actually use custom formulas and the triggered page directly in here to fill this particular thing in that stage. So inside of the priorities, you could actually take that from this particular database and put it into that new one. The complete you can select. You can also have formulas with that, you know, if it's Notion basics, have it unchecked, and if it's the active training, have it checked. There's really, really cool ways to do this, but the predominant one that I was wanting to show you with this is that you can actually use the triggered page and things inside of that trigger page to create what you're wanting to in the related databases when you're setting up automations inside of there. And again, you just don't see enough people using that and actually using it to its advantage, because if we're bringing in the Notion AI with the formula side of things, you can then make these items that you're automating far more complicated and far better for what you're wanting them to do. Just two quicker final ones that I'm going to run through that I think can be really, really good. The first one is synced blocks. Synced blocks are essentially just that if you come onto this page, you see this block and all the items inside of here, and if I come to home, you'll also see it's the exact same block. If I add a space into here and then I come into the Notion training, that space is there. A synced block is essentially meaning it's synced across different pages with what you're wanting to do, and these can be really good for sort of menus if you're wanting. Now, the way that I do it and the way that I run most companies is that I will have the core, which will be the databases in the back end, so that again, they're kind of separated, they're not really there. And then we have linked views of databases in their relevant pages. Now, to make it easier for some clients, some don't like it, but some really, really enjoy it, is you have a menu on the left-hand side that actually has all of the relevant pages that you need, meaning that basically everything that you've got is less than 2 clicks away, because if I want to come to company calls, then I come to company calls, but if I need to go to projects and tasks, I'm right there as well. Instead of coming back out to the home, finding out where the projects and tasks are and going from there, everything is synced across those pages. And it also means that if I add things in the future to this, or I remove things from the future, it also removes it from every single page that I'm working on, rather than me having to go in and out of all of them and change them here and there. So if you're wanting to use synced blocks, all you really need to do is you could put it in any way that you want. A block in Notion is just simply here. So this is a block right here. If you use the /callout function and you build this in here, and then you start having, like, let's just say header, and you name this menu, you have a divider, and then you have a page in here, this is still one singular block. So what you would do at this point is you would simply just come into the 6 dots, you would copy the link to the block, and if you go into a page and you paste that in, it'll ask you if you want to paste it as a synced block. You'll know it's a synced block when you've got this red box around it when you highlight over it, and you'll be able to see where it's been synced to and what's actually going on. You can copy it from here, and you can also unsync it as well if you don't want it to be a synced block, but this is just a really cool thing to know and a really cool thing to have. Final thing that I'm going to cover today is actually version history. So again, this is something that you just don't see enough people talking about, but a lot of companies that I work with struggle a lot with the confidence of using Notion because they are scared to break things and they're scared that it will mess it up. Now, you actually need to intentionally want to break things in Notion in order to fully break it. Because if you accidentally delete a database, and let's just say I've deleted this here, I'm deleting and unsyncing the items, you can actually come into the version history and see the previous history of what this was going on and what it looked like. So if I wanted to revert it back to September the 19th at 8:32, I'm able to do that. And I can revert this all the way back with the ones that I've unlocked anyway to July the 19th. Now, we can't go further back than that, and I think that's because of it's because of the plan that I'm on. So if you're on the enterprise plan, you're able to go back 90 days. But this is such a good way of actually just creating a little bit of ease of mind of body just to know that you can actually restore it back to that previous version. Now, obviously, you're going to lose a few of the data points that you put in if you did lose it, but that's not a problem. And the other thing to take note of with that, even if that is the case, you do have the trash bin as well that you can go into, and you can restore things directly from the trash. So it means that it's so much easier to actually come into here and to restore things that you're wanting to do. But it's something that, again, you see people really concerned about it. It's actually really hard to delete everything inside of Notion. You have to be trying to do it and intentionally wanting to do it, because you would have to go into the restoration, delete everything from there, go into the trash, delete everything from there, and you can only get in access of those if you're like a workspace owner. So again, if someone's maliciously wanting to do it, they probably wouldn't be able to if you haven't given them the ownership. If they're just a guest or they're just a member but they're not an owner, they're not going to be able to delete all of it. Those are just a few of the areas in Notion that I use consistently and that genuinely are really good when it comes to working with clients and speeding up the processes. So if you're working with your team or yourself and learning Notion, some of these things are going to be able to take you to that next level and make it far easier for you to actually get moving forward with how Notion works and how it runs and how it functions. So if you've got any other questions or things you want me to run over, just let me know. But if you start using these today, you'll definitely be moving forward with. If you're wanting to scale your business further using systems and actually taking it to the next level, then click that first link in the description, and the video on the screen now will be something you'll love to watch, and I'll see you there.